Hey everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Europa Universalis 4 Mayu and Taxes. Nicobar got liberated again from ghosts. Again. Good. Sure. Whatever. Hopefully this doesn't freeze again, because my patience will not last very long with this game. As much as I like it. As much as I like it, as much as it's going to break my heart with another freeze. It's going to break my heart. What do you want from me? News from the colonies. Hey, we know what Nicobar is going to produce. Maybe, just maybe, this time it won't have to be freed from whatever's occupying periodically. Another question I would have is maybe it was trying to have this pop up earlier, like in the other freezes. And maybe sometimes the game freezes when it tries to get a thing in there and it doesn't manage to do it and freezes the game or something. I don't know. It's just a hypothesis. Province culture shifts. Liwa becomes a well, I mean, that's great, but how? I don't remember that happening the other times that this froze. Burgers lost, I think they keep doing that. Not that they keep doing it, but I think they've done that every single time. So I don't know how set this is. What brings this about? Is this predictable in some way? That's, I mean, I wonder if that's something you could see in population data, like. Rural saturation currently is way high, but maybe it's going to make people come here faster, and then maybe we're going to reach 2 population. 2? Oh, it's great. Right, I remember now. Asharkia, I'm supposed to make a port, and I really want to do that. And I hope I'm at least not going to freeze until I can see the effects of that port. Saxony wants to humiliate Austria. That is certainly possible at the moment. Uneza is over here somewhere, right? Unrest is going to make particular lists be a jerks. I mean, no one else is rebelling among the particularists, so I think I can just handle it. New monarchs in a bunch of places. Poland has internal conflicts. Too freaking bad for you. How close are we to techs? Pretty damn freaking close when it comes to admin. I think like next month? No, a couple months actually. Well, what can you do? Wait, no, not a couple months. I don't know what happened. But hey, we got there. We're in the stability, of course. Everything's coming along fine. Should probably keep an eye on Khalid, you know, just in case Damascus finds a way to actually walk all the way here. Back in the day, I think it would have been possible, but this is a game. Games don't work the same way real life do. Daya is even more fine. You know what? Just ignore them. That is okay. I can build central mosques. That's great. Fantastic. Okay, there's war going on here. Travancore is attacking Bamani. I wonder if we're going to see Travancore take over where Vijay usually dominates. In my Jumper attacking Bengal is interesting. Bengal took a beating, and so Jumper wants its things back. In my Indian game, where I was mostly centered around here, if you will, Vijay had conquered Gujarat, Bamani, and just all the bottom. You could cut a thing like this. All of this was Vijay. That was great. And then I was a big old guy in the middle here. Telangana had a bit here. Bengal had most of ours. So Bengal itself, and then this coast. Then Delhi, well, Jaunpur was here, was starting to expand this way. Delhi had focused on expanding in here. Anyway. I don't know why I'm telling you all this. Doesn't really matter, does it? Not for this game, at least. It was a really fun game, but it's not really What's going on here? No, it's a... Why would you freeze? Well, my hypothesis was wrong, obviously, because it froze again. In November, wasn't that the first time it froze? Wasn't that in November as well? I think it's trying to do calculations, like monthly calculations. We've seen it get hung up a little every other month, but on this rhythm, I don't know. Well, I know what I have to do. I don't want to do it, but I know what I have to do. Aha! We're back! Look at that! We're not in the game exactly! We're in the loading screen. The game can't freeze in the loading screen, can it? Because it's not making calculations and whatnot. I win! And you might be telling me, yeah, well, but you can't play either. And yes, you're correct, I can't play. That is a thing that's going to happen. I don't think I'm going to be playing this particular game anymore. Because I quite deem it unplayable. It's unfortunate that it has come to this, but you know, we never finished Khaled off. It's unfortunate. We never got the entirety of the ocean. We were doing great, I think. We had this, and then we were going to expand, get the coast, and it would have looked good, at least, at the end. We had the islands, for the most part. Just... And then I could have maybe made this online. One of my big regrets is I won't get to see how much of a difference this would have made. I'm assuming like one or half of a communications efficiency level of a difference per C, which means 1, 2, 3. Well, this one, if we don't count this one, 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 to 4 less levels, that's multiplied by 8, that's 16 to 32% less autonomy in Aden. We're talking about Aden here. It's even more than that, slightly more than that, if we're going south to the Zanzibar Strait. Yeah, I think we could have made something happen if it's as good as I expect it to be. We'll never know. Honestly, we'll just never know. I guess I could just play something else in this game, but you know, play start a new game, play something else, and try. That was a good run. I mean, I was going pretty well. I think I would have managed for the most part the objectives I wanted. This Africa, clearly I would have conquered. India is a tough one. I don't know. Maybe I could have gotten Ceylon. Depends on its relationship with the bigger Indian factions. But Japahit would have been the final boss, basically, because it's the only real naval power around the Indian Ocean. The Indians are strong, but they're strong infantry-wise. No one here is mustering any fleets. Khmer maybe, but it's more into the Pacific than the Indian Ocean per se, because Hantawadi is here. And then Hantawadi is not that great either. I think he had like 5 ships at the moment, which is laughable at best. So I wasn't worried about it. Majapahit was going to be the big like naval fight, and if we can take Majapahit down, we essentially win our mission, right? We're not going to know if we could. I think so, because once you get all of this, even if you don't get full money out of it, like even if it can't fully come online because of communications efficiency and whatnot, even with that, the what was I going to say? The naval force limits would have increased with that. Of course, they don't fully come online, it becomes harder to support a bigger fleet. But with the naval quantity ideas, which I was gonna get probably with the next idea group, plus getting all this coastline, meaning all this naval capacity, same with Madagascar, I would have had a fleet large enough to take on Majapahit. And I could have started on that. I don't know if I would have necessarily, because I don't know how to get a capital rolling. And this is pretty, if this is hard, this is pretty useless without a capital or something. So that would be pretty difficult. Yeah, but yeah, we could have gotten started on something here. I don't know where I would have put it. That's an excellent question, actually. Probably the Straits of Johor, which means Siak and Dragiri are good options. Maybe Singapore. It's called something else here. Rio, but no, there's a tiny thing. Temasek, I guess it's called. It's Singapore today. That, you know what, probably would have taken Singapore just because Singapore, I don't know, sounds nice. It's a country today. Would have been the capital of this area. I'm sure Singapore would be flattered by that. It's pretty central to Indonesia itself, and it would have allowed me decent control. I mean, I'm 1, 2, 3, 4 away from this, 5, 6 from here. This area starts to be about as far as Aden is from Oman. Even like Abadir, I think, Benadir, sorry, something like that. Abadir, I think, is more Moroccan, isn't it? I am confusing things. Now, something I want to do, options. I didn't really look at the rest of the world. I always had the fog on, Terra Incognita on, so let's put that at no. I want to see the rest of the world. Well, this was as expected, I suppose. Burundi went on a rampage. I feel like it's missing a few things up here, though. IRL, it's Uganda. This is the, like, Victoria. Uganda's over here, and then you have, I think, Burundi and Rwanda. So it's not even, like, historically accurate in terms of where it is, which is interesting. Mutapa was making its way inland. That's interesting. Then you have some random person, and then Congo. So that's Africa. Colonization. Muisca, some random local, I guess. Cusco's having trouble with Lupaca. Huh. And then you have Mapuche way down south. Spain was starting very slowly to get things going. They did have, that's St. Helena, or no, that's Ascension. St. Helena is this one. Yeah. Oh, there's an island here. And it's colonizable. It's probably the French that got it IRL, because there's a French critic on it. But it's only French. I doubt it's only French, but you know, the French use it the most. What about over here? The Maya, or being the Maya, obviously. Tlapanek apparently won. Teotihuacan is doing quite well. And then there's this purple person I can't read. Zapotec. Those are the three big ones, I suppose. Tlapanek seems the biggest. Also has Mexico, I think. I don't see it right now, but it's in there somewhere. Or not, no. Where was it? Around this lake, right? Tenochtitlan, where is it? Maybe I'm just looking for the wrong name. Or maybe I'm looking around the wrong lake. I don't freaking, whatever, it doesn't exactly matter. And then the Iroquois and the whole bunch of Blackfoot, the heck are they doing there? Huh. Anyway, bunch of people living in random places. So I don't think they add, I don't know if they add that much to the game. I guess a little bit. So Portugal had started, Bermudas is theirs. An island. Ah, England. England started as well. Good. I was looking for like who was colonizing and where. Spain, I feel like, wasn't doing much of anything. England got started. Portugal certainly got started. But yeah, see, Portugal had ports here way far away. They had trouble getting around, for sure. They could get their ships around. They had fleets around here, so they could, but they had trouble. Alright, Japan. Did we take a look? We never really took a look at them. What is going on here? Is that Shimazu? No, that's a Kamatsu. Okay, makes sense. This is Ando. I don't know which one that is. I think Satake was the one we played in the stream. Uchi! I like Uchi for really weird reasons, don't mind me. I don't know. That's Sue normally, isn't it? The faction that owns that, so... Korea actually invaded Japan to some extent, because that's Japanese, technically. I don't remember these mountains, and I'm trying to figure out if they do anything. They don't seem to well... Yeah, okay, this province is cut off from this province. I was trying to see. Sometimes they put mountains, and the mountains don't do anything. Perfect example would be our colonies over here. These mountains don't really do that much. They separate Gwadar from Awaran, but if you look at this piece here, it does nothing. It's just there to be pretty. That's all it does. This one as well. It's just there for the sake of being there. There's no real point to it. Anyway, never really took a good look at Europe as well. Spain, trying to attack Arborea, it's kind of a mess. This is occupied by the Spanish, but Sardinia is occupied by Arborea. That's because it's mostly focusing on Naples. That seems to be a big battle between the two. France is doing good. It's not fully formed, but it's doing fine. England took over the Netherlands. Netherlands, there was hope, and then hope was squashed by the Netherlands. Though, you know, they never got Scotland either, which is kind of weird. In Germany, this Bohemia was strong, but then changed its capital to here, and that made a mess of things. And then they died, essentially. Didn't quite, but, you know, close enough. They've been in trouble ever since, and it shows, because people have been able to just randomly get a lot of territories all to themselves. Nassau, Liege, Nuremberg, those are not names you usually see. Is that Salzburg? Salzburg. Saxony is doing fantastic. Brandenburg apparently died in the scuffle. Stettin is actually doing great. Didn't notice that. Brunswick's okay, but not the greatest. Just there was a lot of conquering. Milan went into the Alps instead of Austria. Austria did bad, did good, and then did bad because Hungary was a thing. Tuscany did okay early and then just stalled and did nothing. Naples was stronger than I thought possible, and then Mantua, yeah, that's another one in the empire that you just never hear of, and then all of a sudden I'm kind of important, and Milan is ignoring me, which helps. Milan and Tuscany both ignored him. Austria is just weird if we move further eastwards. Well, Turkey was... we're going to come back to Turkey, but the Balkans have been mostly conquered by Turkey or Hungary. Hungary had some dynastic woes, as it always does. But it came out of it just fine. Poland was crushed and then came by Bohemia. It was conquered, mostly conquered. Do you remember that? I do. Mostly conquered by Bohemia, then Bohemia fell apart and it came back. Straight up just came back. That is the old Teutonic Order. It also had trouble with Bohemia, but then wasn't dead as much as Poland, but then came back the same. It's, you know, history. That's what happened. Scandinavia formed. That was surprising and kind of fun. Iceland is free. Rebels, by rebels, I assume. So Iceland is free. That starts with Norway, which means it became Scandinavian. I'm guessing Scandinavia just cannot handle the communications efficiency. There's probably not a trade port rank 1 anywhere on the island, so 100% autonomy all the time over there, for sure. That's probably what lost them the island. I'm surprised though, because they look like people that could handle themselves. Meanwhile, Moscow is looking in trouble. If we go to Russia, usually Moscow takes over the entire place. That did happen, but then they fell apart because Turkish Empire, we're going to come back to them, Turkish Empire was a thing, attacked them twice, won twice, didn't take anything, but they took away like resources, manpower, money, a whole bunch of stuff, so Moscow then fell apart to its enemies. Novgorod is back in business up north. Smolensk took a decent chunk of the west, and then Genoa in the south. And you've got a whole bunch of rebels that are trying to give these territories to other people. Probably one of the nomads, so they were about to just die. Middle East, Iraq is actually free. When Persia killed Fars, Muntovik automatically became free. Oh, there's a thing here. Georgia has been up and down. Shirvan just got better, I think, at the expense of Georgia. Not much else is happening because giants are coming in. Turkish Empire did great. For a very long time, Turkish Empire, the Ottoman, actually did very little in the games. I think with 2.0 they've been consistently strong, so at least that's historically accurate. There's that. And they expanded quite nicely. I wonder how good they were doing in terms of communications efficiency, actually. They are mostly naval in terms of, I mean, not that they're mostly naval, but their communications can go through naval a lot, and that helps. I think a lot. That helps them. If they go too far east, they were starting to get too far east here. I think they had zero control over this because it's too far inland. The closest port you can get is probably this, actually. Another place I'd have to look. There's less. This is closer, but it's more mountainy, so I don't know. And then Persia. Persia was trouble. It was very unreliable. Back when it was Fars, and now that it's Persia, it just always was very unreliable. It helped a little, but it was annoying to deal with. And now Iraq, as I said, Iraq is free. It could actually take this from Mamluks. I don't know why this is still a thing. Could take it and then just, you know, look like a decent miner in the area. Of course, it's smaller than Persia, Turkish Empire, and me, so it will have trouble. This, we talked about it. Let's go to other things. Tunis taking over this is not overly surprising. And Fez taking its own chunk. They should be fighting more, I feel like, but whatever. Ethiopia won the war here versus Alwa, so it did good in that sense. Ming did not fall apart. The Chinese actually have some game mechanics that can make them fall apart completely. And you know how Yuan starts out like broken into many pieces, and all the pieces are trying to be the emperor? It can happen again. I've seen it happen quite frequently, actually, in this mod. In previous versions of it, so I don't know if this is a thing of this mod that Ming actually does great. Also, China always unifies. The question is, will it stay unified? There's only one time in all my time of this mod, it's only one time that China never got unified. It was actually divided in three, the Three Kingdom eras. It never broke out of that. It was a perfect standstill. It was kind of weird, actually. Anyway, Tibet formed, and Manchuria probably could have formed and didn't. I guess Heijie lacked a little bit of focus, but that was interesting. Korea is strong. Japan is Japan. There's not much to comment. Khmer winning was a big surprise, but we commented on that as the game progressed. Just usually, they start at war with Thailand, Ayutthaya, I think it's called. And usually they just lose that. Now they were like, yeah, I'm gonna win that, and then they just proceeded to conquer this entire thing. Hantawadi looks weaker than normal, though I don't think it's weaker than normal. It just looks weaker because it doesn't look as big, but it has territories it can make more money out of, so I'm not too worried about it. Majapahit is actually a rare sight. I don't know if I've seen it much. Actually integrate the entirety of the islands. In my experience, eventually the vassals manage to get free enough that they break down its power. But Majapahit managed to avoid that. Good on him. It would have made for a final boss, an interesting final, you know? India. Vijay was a surprise, falling apart like that. They kind of never do. Bengal, it's been actually back and forth between all the big powers. Delhi went south. Jaunpur, you know, Jaunpur, Bengal, Bamani, Orissa to some extent. We're having good times and then bad times, good times, but no one could keep the ball rolling except, I guess, Delhi to some extent. It was stable when it wasn't expanding, at least. It wasn't constantly expanding, but it was stable when it was. Gujarat was doing great. It was picking its fights appropriately. I think Malwa never really had a rough patch, and then Travancore, of course, just steadily increased. It wasn't trying to go too fast, but it just steadily increased. Morocco looks like it's doing great. That's recent. I don't know if they would have held on to all this. Maybe. Maybe I'm not giving them enough credit, but maybe not. And then, yeah, up here, as I mentioned, Tibet formed. Mogulistan did basically won the Hordes War up there. There's Transoxiana that starts here, and maybe one more, I'm not sure, but Mogulistan is the clear victor in this area. You have Blue Horde over here, but I don't think they have many resources up there. That's gonna wrap up the little tour of the world. This was a fun game. I had fun with it, and then the game decided to stop working properly, so gonna have to stop the series on it. Sorry. I'll try to come back to this this game, but much later. I'll give it a lot of time, that way it's going to have time to get updated, to get stable, and then it's gonna be a much more enjoyable experience, if only because we're gonna get to the end of it. The true end, kill the final boss and everything, and accomplish our mission objectives. Still, I'm satisfied. We were doing great. We were in a great position to just get like half of, no, not a half. I'd say that's 1/3, India's 1/3, and this area is the other third. And I was well on my way to securing completely 1/3. Having tiny pieces of 1/3, if I can get a piece of Sind, if I can get these islands, that's a start. If I can get Salem, great. And then I was beginning to colonize over here, but that was going to take a confrontation with Majapahit. That's another story entirely. So this is a fun game. I don't think I have to review it too much. I've been doing that on the fly, I suppose. So, although I suppose you could call that complaining, but I was having trouble like being very constructive. I don't know. When I was looking at the islands, I know they made a change in the recent patch where ports level 0 actually allow communications to go. It's very inefficient, but it does. I guess that's what it would take in. I was trying to figure out the best way to fix that, and I did think of that, but I felt like it would go a little bit against what they were trying to do. At the same time, at one point, if what you want to do and just gameplay considerations get into conflict, well, it's a matter of choice. Is this still here? Sikkim. Can I just take a moment to say, once upon a time I tried to play Yutsong. And my plan was like, well, this is part of the territory I need to own to actually form Tibet. So I was like, and Dokam is actually a tiny bit stronger than you at the start of the game. Congrats on Wutsang, by the way, for overcoming someone that's actually a tiny bit stronger than him. But yeah, I was like, well, I can just own this, sneak down here, just maybe control this, and that will allow me to form Tibet, and off of that, just overcome Dokams and just do my thing, right? The game says, no, you're not allowed to fight Sikkim, and that's the only way to get through this. Sucks. I am not going to aim with you selected. Oman, thank you. Just as an aside, that's just one example of the game just over scripting things. Having too heavy of a hand on, this cannot happen in the real world. I don't care. Honestly, the best balance, and it's impossible to truly perfectly do that, but the best way to do that is on one hand you script you script it so that the AI, for the most part, is going to do something real life states would have done if they were in the same position. It's a lot harder than I'm making it sound, and I'm not even making it sound easy. It's a lot harder. But on the other hand, you need to leave the player with a completely free hand to do whatever. He should have the freedom to decide if he's going to do something reasonable or not. Is this Spain? No. This starts belonging to Navarre. That's where that comes from. Anyway, I'm just surprised they're still there. What was I saying? Yeah, you need to leave the player as free a hand as possible, and the only real thing you need to script for the player is events that you can work towards to trigger to actually make some historical events happen that would otherwise be impossible. For example, Manchuria. There's no way in hell in this game that Manchuria can conquer China. No way in hell. So Heijie, if you get maybe finish off Manchuria, get you Deijie. If you get to a certain position, a certain point, maybe there's a way to trigger an event that could lead to you and Ming becoming one, or whoever the China is. That could lead to your annexation, right? That's the kind of script that I would go like, yeah, okay, you know what? The player does need that script, because that if a player wants to do something historical-ish with Manchuria, you can't do the historical thing. You can't just out of the blue conquer the entirety of China in one go. That's just not going to happen. It did in real life, but well, it's more complicated than that, but whatever, you get my point. It's impossible without scripts. That's the kind of script you need as a player. But for the AI, of course, you need to tip their hand a little. Anyway, I think I'm just rambling and being a little random. I'll call it here. Thank you for watching. If you have a suggestion, because I did say I'm going to come back, it's going to be in a long time, of course, but if you have a suggestion on something you'd like to see, I mean, I randomly decided, let's try a naval power in a place, you know. I've never played very much a naval power in this ocean. I've played it in the Pacific as Japan. I've played it as a unified Japan. I managed to do that. I've played it in the Atlantic a few times, in a few different incarnations, actually. England, Denmark. I don't think I played Spain. I don't know, France. Yeah. This one time I tried to do France, blitz to Mexico, and from conquering Mexico, having ports here, blitz colonizing the islands here. And just for the fun of it. There's no point to it. I was just trying to, you know, do things. It's a long time ago, actually. But yeah, I did some naval things. I did some land things. Some kind of. I'm rambling again. Gotta go back to my point. If you have a suggestion for the next time in the very far future that I play this game, if you have a suggestion on what you'd like to see, maybe you're gonna like to see something different by the time we get there, so maybe that's not such a great idea to ask here. I should probably do a video, if I remember to do one, if I ever get to. Anyway, yeah, I'm just gonna leave it off. If you have a suggestion, just leave it there. I may or may not remember that in a few years. I'm just gonna leave this off here. Next week is gonna be back to a series. I think I said I would come back after this. If I didn't say that, well, I'm going back to it anyway. And then I'm gonna go back to a series, which I think is gonna please a whole bunch of people in here. By in here, I mean on this channel. Maybe not everybody. Certainly not the people here. I don't think those two audiences connect very much. They're both strategy game series, but they're so different. I don't know. You tell me. Anyway, it's a while away anyway, so you're probably not gonna remember by then. Anyway, for the last time, thank you for watching, and I will see you all next week.